Hey, well, thanks for tuning into today's video. Going to do a bit of an extended video today. We're looking at the storm that's coming up tonight across the north of Scotland. We'll also have a quick look at the Stratosphere, see what's going on there for the first time this season, and we'll have a look at where the next 8 to 10 days as well. So a lot to be getting on with. I'll just rattle through the announcements and then get on with the video. So there's links to articles on the page to go. So let's have a browse the widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. And thanks so much for doing that. This video adds to most of the pages which open out in the content. When you watch them, they'll close back up again. Thanks very much for doing that. And also, the Christmas shop is open, so if you've got any Christmas presents to buy at Amazon between now and Christmas, just click through the Amazon banners in the Christmas shop and you get to the Christmas shop via the button underneath this video on the homepage. Click through the Amazon banners, go to Amazon directly and do your shopping, and because you've gone from Gab Service to Amazon, we get a revenue fee on the things that you are purchasing, and thanks very much for doing that. It's already been a great success so far this season, so thanks to everybody that's done their Christmas shopping at Amazon via gas remedies. So we'll start off with situation today. We've got this area of low pressure heading into the northwest of Scotland. This is being named Storm Abigail. It's just an autumnal area of low pressure, really. It's 970 millibars, so it's pretty deep. It will bring gales, possibly severe gale force gusts, excuse me, to the far north and northwest of Scotland. I'm not sure it's anything all that out of the ordinary really for November, but it's going to give us all a bit of a blow overnight tonight, and particularly in the very far north of the country. And you see the tightly packed ice bars here heading into the northwest of Scotland. There'll also be a band of heavy rain coming across the country. At midnight, that's probably when the worst of the winds will be across the far north, very tight packed ice bars, so as I say, gales or severe gales certainly possible for the north and northwest of the country, but it is in the far north and northwest. Elsewhere, whilst it will be a windy night, the ice bars are fairly tightly packed, so it'll be a fairly wild night. I think the disruptive winds is probably restricted to the very, very far north and northwest of the country. And by 6 o'clock in the morning, things will be starting to calm down, even in the far north of Scotland, although still pretty gusty winds, and cooler air is coming in as well behind this area of low pressure. Following the ice bars back, the winds are originating from Greenland, so that's starting to pull in cooler air across the country. We could see showers turning wintry over high ground in Scotland tomorrow. I haven't had that very often so far this autumn. So, fairly interesting spell of weather coming up over the next few hours. And of course, if you're in the far north of the country, do take care. We'll be pretty wild up there tonight. Right, let's have a look at the stratosphere. Haven't looked at this so far this season, but this chart that you're seeing here is the 30 HPA temperature over the North Pole. 30 HPA and also 10 HPA is in the very top of the atmosphere over the top of the North Pole. We look at this really to tell us what the pressure is going to be doing over the pole, because when we've got a cold stratosphere, when it's cold in the upper atmosphere, in the stratosphere, then normally we've got a strong polar vortex churning away over the North Pole, and a cold stratospheric temperature is something that will tend to go with increased westerlies. Conversely, when you get a warm stratosphere over top of the pole, it normally coincides with high pressure and blocking appearing over the pole. So warmings over the North Pole in the stratosphere is something that we look at through the winter, particularly, especially in the middle of the latter part of winter. It's something we look at to see whether we have an increased chance of getting high pressure and blocking over the top of the pole. And what we really want to see is a sudden stratospheric warming, which is a dramatic push up in the temperature that happens over 24 or 48 hours. So this chart is telling us, well, we've got the grey line here, which is the average for where the stratosphere should be. As we know, it's a cooling time of year, so you expect the stratosphere to be going increasingly cold up to around January. The dates are on the bottom of the chart. So around January, the stratospheric temperature should be at its coldest. The black line here is the actual stratospheric temperature this year. So you can see that currently we are a bit colder than average over the top of the North Pole. Nothing too out of the ordinary yet, but we are cooling down quite a bit. We're certainly underneath the grey line. We're certainly underneath the average. So we've got quite a cold stratosphere over North Pole, and that's probably a signal for increased westerlies and zonal type conditions actually. So with this cold stratosphere, you would expect the westerlies and the polar vortex to be strengthened. So the fact we're getting quite a mild, or a very mild, we'll have a look how mild it's been, but the fact we're having a very mild November with westerlies, southwesterlies, probably not that much of a surprise considering how cold the stratosphere is at the moment over the North Pole. This is from meteoseal.fr. By the way, we'll be looking at Meteoseal tonight on the Christmas page. I do another Christmas update. I don't think I mentioned at the start of the video, but we will be doing a Christmas update this evening. So, excuse me. So this is the temperature over the top of the pole. These blue colours are really indicating the cold stratospheric temperature over the North Pole. We can see that we are looking at it top down. So there's the British Isles just there. Down in mid-latitudes, America is over here. Russia is somewhere over here. So the blue colours are saying indicating that cold stratospheric temperature. We'll just quickly run through these. And what we're looking for, of course, is to turn warmer. But certainly up to the end of the GFS run, or up to 192 hours of the GFS run, which takes us to the 12th, to the 20th of November. No sign of any particularly warming. No sign of any particular warming occurring over the top of the pole. We have got these little warming events going around the mid-latitudes. That tends to be where the stratospheric warming start, actually, around the mid-latitudes, and then they sort of penetrate into the North Pole, but there's no real sign of that happening at this stage. It's very early. It's something that we tend to see more as we get through into the middle and latter stages of the winter. And again, we look at the Fantasy Island part of the 6 o'clock run of the GFS model, sort of the unreliable time frame, and once again, there's no real sign of warming occurring. Again, we've got these warmings happening around the edges of the pole and in the mid-latitudes with these yellow colours here, but actually over the pole, the stratosphere, up to the end of November, looks like it's remaining very cold. It's actually becoming colder as we go through to the end of November when the purple colours turn up. That's a very cold stratospheric temperature. This is what we're looking for. This is from January 2013. All of these red colours here are indicating a dramatic warming taking place, and it did happen in January 2013. It had this huge warming event. You'll see how those red colours penetrate into the pole. Notice that the blue colours are just being obliterated over time. We're running through, and here come the yellow colours, obliterating the blue colours, literally pulling the polar vortex apart. That was a very dramatic sudden stratospheric warming event that occurred in January 2013, and it led eventually to quite a severely cold spell of weather when we got through to March 2013. Things just became more and more and more blocked as we went through January, February into March 2013. We ended up with that very cold March, and it all started really with this huge sudden stratospheric warming event that occurred at the start of January 2013. So that's the kind of thing we're going to be looking for over the next few weeks and months. You'll be seeing and hearing a lot more about the stratosphere. Now, as I say, I've had a very, very mild start to November, so this is censoring the temperature from Hadley for November so far. This is provisional up to yesterday, the 11th. So we're currently standing at 11.9 degrees, which is an anomaly of 4 degrees above average. Suffice to say, if we was to keep this to the end of the month, it would easily break the all-time record, which was set in 1994. The all-time November central temperature record is this one, 10.1. From November 1994. So clearly we're way above that, and I think we're going to get a bit of a cooling occurring over the next week or so, but how much we get and whether we are able to prevent this from being the warmest November on record, we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a mild month, I think. I'm not seeing anything that would get rid of that 4 degrees Celsius anomaly entirely. Probably won't break the record in the end. Most months don't break the record, of course. That's why they are record-breaking months, because they are unusual. So I'll be surprised if we break that record in 1994. But let's wait and see. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. Still way above average. As I say, once we get rid of Storm Abigail tomorrow, we're going to go a bit colder. So we do actually go a little bit below average just for a few hours later tomorrow and into Saturday. But then the temperatures push up again as we go through into the weekend. And then after that, you see what's going on. So we've got a huge amount of scatter here, but overall, still a little bit above average. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. You see the trend, which is really indicated by the white line, actually. The trend is just to keep things a little bit above average. Not as warm as we've had it through the first sort of 10 days of November. But still a bit above average. No sign of anything particularly cold even then. But there is a lot of scatter in there. And what it could be picking up on is a bit of a zonal sine wave, actually, where you get warmer sectors and colder sectors and warmer sectors and colder sectors sort of cancelling one another out. But again, there's no sign of anything tremendously cold there, but cooler compared to what we've had. Also, a lot of precipitation spikes. I'm sure you noticed these dramatic spikes here on the bottom of the chart. So I think we're going to be in for a really wet spell as we get through the weekend and into next week. Possibly got to think a little bit about localised flooding in the north and west of the country, but that does look quite dramatic actually in terms of those rainfall spikes. Temperature anomaly for the coming week, going from the 12th to the 20th of November, is above average, so still another mild week coming up. And the rainfall anomaly is going wetter than average, so in those blue colours there. Not surprising after seeing all those precipitation spikes, but it is confirmation we're going to have quite a wet week from the 12th to the 20th of November. Excuse me. So here we go with the GFS generic charts. This is for Monday. Again, another quite deep area. Low pressure to the north of Scotland, bringing in these westerly winds with low pressure systems downstream, waiting to bring further bands of rain across the country. For Tuesday and Wednesday, very little change. Little bit of a northerly there on Wednesday. That would turn things colder, possibly bring some frost and wintry showers up to the north. But then the next area of low pressure rolls in on Thursday, so that northerly is quickly cut off. We're back to westerlies, southwesterlies once again. A lot of heavy rain could be coming up with that once more. And then we go through into Friday the 20th of November, still on a very unsettled note. Again, winds trying to back into the north, possibly bringing some cooler air to Scotland, elsewhere still relatively mild. And then we get through to day 10, which is Sunday the 22nd of November, and we get this quite dramatic chart here, with a very deep area of low pressure just to the southeast of the country. I'm not sure about that, but if it came off, suffice to say, it will be very wet and very windy. We've got gale force northeasterly winds here. Be a lot of heavy rain. I think it would mostly be rain, possibly a little bit wintry over the Pennines, perhaps, in the Welsh mountains, but generally just very wet, cold, windy, and miserable if that one was to come off at day 10. But it's a bit of an odd chart, that I'm not quite sure about that. As we go through to the east WF, again, very similar for Monday, bringing meets westerlies across the country. It'll be wet and windy into the start of next week. Midweek, we don't get that northerly snap that the GFS was just showing. Actually, we just keep winds in from the west. Again, but jet streams come a little bit further south. So we're talking about mildish air here, not the sort of balmy, insanely mild temperatures that we've had over the first 12 days of November. We move closer towards day 10. This is a week away, Thursday the 19th of November, and you can see quite clearly it is still very unsettled here, and that just stays with us through to the end of the run. By the time we get through to day 10, which is going to be Sunday the 22nd of November, we're in a cooler or colder northerly flow as the low pressure exits into Scandinavia. And again, notice this area of low pressure. This is probably the one the GFS is picking up on. ECM has it down to the southwest of us, but again, quite an intense feature. So maybe around day 9, day 10, we've got to be thinking about the chance of something a bit stormy close to the south of the country. Quite where that happens, it's chopping and changing, obviously, because it's a long way off. But probably got to think a bit about it. Does need keeping an eye on that. But I'm a bit dubious. It probably won't come to too much. But that chart actually does look a bit colder by the time we get through to day 10. So we're in for a very unsettled second half to November. I think that much is quite obvious. After this ridiculously mild first half, we've got a temperature anomaly of around 4 degrees above average. We will probably see the temperatures lowering over the coming week, but still generally staying a bit above average. So I'm quite unsure at the moment how much we will reduce the central England temperature over the next week, or the general temperatures, even in the north of the country, still well above average. So I think we will see a cooling trend, but how much? We'll have to wait and see. But it does look very unsettled, and we're going to have quite a lot of heavy rain coming up through the course of next week, with slightly cooler temperatures as well. That's the plan at the moment. Right, we'll be doing the, I think it's the Christmas update this evening, so come back for that. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.